I have a question for you all. Why do you choose to write choral music? Just what is special about choral music? And Jeff, we just heard a beautiful piece by you. We'll start with you.
There's nothing like the human voice. And I've been singing since I can remember, and I always liked it.
It's one medium that transcends any instrumental format, so the voice is always going to sound like a voice. And right away, you in a sense have your style created for you just because it's a choir. And that's wonderful and large, just have that sense that it's going to be that sound, which, as he said, there's nothing like it.
Carol just said this, really, I think, but when we're dealing with the voice, we're about as close as we can get to the human soul. I mean, there's nothing between the voice. There's nothing. With every other instrument, whatever you're doing is mediated through an instrument. When we're dealing with the voice, you're dealing with the human body. Of course, that makes it more vulnerable, and in a sense, perhaps more delicate in terms of what the possible outcome might be, because you're more vulnerable to all of the things that human beings are vulnerable, which can be masked if you're playing a piano or playing a violin or that sort of thing. But I love that about it. You can't get closer.
Is far and away the most flexible, the human voice. You can do more with the human voice than anything else, no matter what anybody may say. You can go faster with it. You can jump around with it more. It has all of the possibilities of language and all of the colors that come from it. There's simply nothing like it. The other thing is that, to my mind, I'm going to find the right way of saying this. It seems to me that every music has a way of running its course. There was a time when people wrote extensively for the lute, for example. And I think that the 21st century is still the century for the voice, because the voice can make beautiful sounds no matter what the combination of sounds that you're actually making with it. Whereas it's possible to say that some of the things that we've wanted to do recently with orchestras, for example, are hard on our ears. The choir is always beautiful, and it has an opportunity to grow no matter what you do with it.
That's all true about the voice and all, but about the choir in general, it's kind of a unique sound in the world of the whole world of music, actually. Because, just to throw a little wrench in the works here, one problem with the voice is that when it's a solo singer, there's just so much style involved, and there's so many different styles. For example, if you're raised listening to classical opera, and you became an opera singer, your parent was an opera singer, and you always went to opera, and that was just about it. Country and Western singing just, ain't there for you. It just sounds awful, actually. And the same is true for if you were raised in a country and Western house, The opera sounds just insane. I know I listen to a lot of East Indian music, but I have difficulty listening to the vocal music because it's so particular to the manner of the culture, When you bring voices together, that starts to get washed out. So there's kind of a universality to it. And it's also something I think we as Westerners, I guess we all Westerners here, at least in the European tradition, it's something that the European tradition has kind of given to the world that's quite unique.
I think that probably the most powerful choral music I've heard has come from South Africa. And when you consider what people have done, maybe somehow in touch with our culture, but not aping us at all, but doing their own thing. African choral music is yet another experience which has everything else that you mentioned. It's got its own sound, and it gives itself over to a unity that is so universal and yet so distinct. So one of the great joys I'm having these days and years is to find choral sounds outside of our Western tradition and find that they're basically as wonderful as what we're hearing tonight, just from a different context.
But almost every culture, people sing together. Am I right there?
Yeah.
It's a curious phenomenon. Anyone have any thoughts?
We can sing chorally in the rotunda. We've just been doing so. Don't need to drag in a 9-foot Steinway. You don't need instruments that you spend a lifetime trying to acquire the skill to play. You just do it.
Yep.
Pretty cheap, isn't it?
It all comes down to budgets, doesn't it?